Welcome to Midlife Mix.
Am I your first Canadian podcast?
Oh my God. And they say you always remember your first.
Both things can be true.
He's cheating on you. He's busting up your barbershop.
The fire that was underneath me at that point, I always say if I could bottle that up and sell that, I would make millions because I had so much drive. I had so much hustle. Like you name a job, I would take it. It was just me proving that I could do this and getting my name out there and making the connections and building this network. And I did it.
Welcome, Janine Holmes,
Thank
to Midlife Mix.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Beauty expert, makeup artist, hairstyle artist.
All of the above.
Do it all. You do it
I
all.
juggle it all.
So do you remember where we met?
I do.
Yeah.
It was at an industry event. It was earlier this year. We sat together and became buds.
Yeah, it was in the spring, and we were at this beauty event, and I heard people whispering to you, can you talk about it? Like, what's going on? And I was like thinking, who is this woman? I'm intrigued. And then I think it had just wrapped up at that point, but you were a contestant on Big Brother Canada. I think it was season 12.
Yep.
And you couldn't talk about it, obviously, because it had just happened or it was just getting released.
Yeah.
But you were a huge super fan of that show.
I was for many years. You know, even before Big Brother Canada was a thing, I used to fantasize about going on the show and how I would strategize and how I would play. It's always been my favorite show. And then Big Brother Canada, I remember it's the first auditions for the first season were right when I just came back from my honeymoon. So I did this adventure honeymoon with my husband. We went to Peru. We did Machu Picchu, the works. And I came home and the deadline was like that week. I was like, I have to apply. So I did a quick like point and shoot audition. It was very lackluster. I was not surprised when I wasn't chosen because again, I just threw it together. And then for the next few years, I was busy off having kids. So applying was just not an option. And then as soon as my daughter, I think was about 1, I was like, all right, this is my time. And so I applied for season 6 and 7 and made it all the way through the casting process, right to the end. And I thought I had it for season 7. Season 6, anything I read about the audition process is you have to go through it multiple times. They really want to make sure you have what it takes because it is a very hard thing to do. You are literally cut off from society. You have to literally close down your life to go on this show. So it's a lot. And so I've heard that you had to go through it multiple times. And then once I didn't get on 6, I was like, okay, 7 is mine. I knew exactly what to do the next time. You know, you kind of go through the process and you're like, okay, I would have done this differently and that differently. Went all the way through 7 and like I went even further. I was like, this is it. And then I didn't get it. And then I paused. I was upset that I didn't get it. And I stopped applying. And then my life kind of changed over the course of 5 years. There was a pandemic in there. You know, my social media took off. I was doing a lot more TV on my own as a beauty expert. And then they called me. But it's one of those things, I say this to everyone, women's intuition, I always knew I'd get on the show. I could see myself walking through those doors. I just always knew it was a part of me. And I'll give an example of how I knew it was. So the dress that I wore on opening night was this beautiful Alex Perry designer, one sleeve, like sequins, gorgeous dress. And I actually bought it in 2021, the holidays. I got Omicron. That's when everybody was sick with COVID. I got Omicron. I was like laying in bed. I had the sweats. I was cold, I was shivering, and I just stumbled across this dress and I bought it. And then it came in the mail and my husband looked at me, he's like, why did you buy this? And I said, oh, it's my Big Brother dress. And he was like, what are you talking about? You haven't applied or talked about this show in years. I was like, yeah, I know, but like, you know, you never know. And then, you know, lo and behold. So talk about manifesting, right?
Yeah.
Like I just knew it was going to happen. I knew that was the dress I was going to wear. And then it happened.
That's amazing. I bet you he
cool.
doesn't doubt your powers now.
I know. He's like, wow, she's like a witch. She knows.
So what was it like then? So it's in your head it had happened. And now all of a sudden you are there. You're in the house. You are a super fan of this.
Yeah.
And it must have felt incredibly surreal to be there.
It was so surreal. I think honestly, like looking back at it, I was so reserved. They say that you go on the show and you forget you're on camera. You forget that you're microphone 24/7. I didn't. I was so hyper aware of those cameras. I was so hyper aware of the microphones. And so as a result, I found I was kind of inward and I wasn't myself. Like I find like I'm very fun and outgoing, and I just felt like on the show I wasn't like that. Also, my show, my journey was basically ended on day 4. I was the first evicted, spoiler alert. And but day 4 was when the HOH at the time sat me down, was like, you're saying my name, and like spewed all these lies. And usually when you're the first target, it's hard to get that off you. Once it's on you, everyone's just like, phew, it's not me. I have nothing to worry about now. So they're all off having the best times ever, connecting, having fun. And I'm literally going from room to room being like, guys, I didn't say this stuff. Like, these are all lies. And I just, again, by the end of it, I just felt like a shell of who I was as a person. And it was, honestly, I look at it now, getting out first. Nobody wants to be the first evicted, but for me, I felt like it was a blessing. It was a blessing. I came out of it, and human beings are not supposed to live like that. Let's just say that. And I was not okay. And all I thought was, I have too much on the line I have 2 little kids at home. I run my own business. I just couldn't believe I put myself in that kind of situation, given all my responsibilities. It was kind of silly at the end of it. Like, when I thought about it, I was like, I'm so messed up, and it's over a television show. Like, and it just seems so selfish. And yeah, but I can say now, like, I'm on the other side of it, and I can look at it, and I am so grateful for the opportunity. I don't know if anyone knows, but Big Brother Canada, they announced that they canceled it. So in a way, it helped my processing of everything. I was like, you know what? Even though I was the first evicted, at least I got to click off this box of this big dream of mine, and I got to experience it.
Yeah, that's bucket list.
Right?
That's
It's a bucket list
stuff.
thing.
You should be proud of yourself.
Yeah, it obviously didn't go kind of the way I would have wanted, but I got to do something really cool, once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, and you have 2 young kids, as you mentioned.
I do.
So now they're 10 and 8,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
So they were around 9, 7, or 8, 6 at the
They
time?
were, my son was 10 and then my daughter was 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate that goodbye? Because when you left, you didn't know whether you were going to be in it for the long haul. You didn't, nobody planned for you to be gone after 4 days. So what did you tell them? Like, how did
There
you
was a
do
lot
that?
of, I felt bad because there was a lot of secrecy. Like, towards the end, there was a lot of secret meetings that I'd have to go to meet with the producers. And like, again, they really want to make sure that who they're choosing is cut out for this. So it is a very long process. But they knew. My kids, I don't know, maybe they have my intuition that I was talking about, because I think the day before I was going into, so you go into sequester for a couple weeks prior to the show even starting. And so we sat them down, and my daughter's like, I know what this is. I know what this is. And I was like, okay, well, what do you think it is? She's like, you're going on Big Brother Canada. And I was like, yeah, I am. There were some tears, but they were excited too. Like, we make reality TV is like a big family thing in our family. Like, we watch Survivor every week. We watch Big Brother and Survivor are kind of like the 2 that we do as a family, and they love the competitions and they love it all. So they were, as equally as they were like sad that I was going, they were also very excited that they got to watch their mommy on TV.
Yeah. Well, you're not a stranger to TV. Obviously, Big Brother Canada, but I see you all the time. You do the morning show, breakfast TV. You've been on the social because you're a beauty expert, and you talk about beauty trends and makeup must-haves and all the rest. And you're also the founder of I Do Beauty Co.
I Do Beauty Co. Yeah.
Which is a mobile sort of, you do weddings, big events in hair and makeup. Yeah, you will
that's
go.
right. So I have a team. There's 8 artists plus myself, and we go out in the city for any event that requires beauty. Obviously, weddings is a huge part of that, hence the name I Do Beauty Co.
So I want to know a little bit about your makeup career, like how it started, because you obviously do weddings and big events, but you are a celebrity makeup artist. You've worked on TV shows, movies. So tell me a little bit about how your career started, and did you ever think you would be where you are today?
Great question. I didn't, because back in the day, so I always did hair and makeup. I remember being in high school, and I'd always grab my friends and be like, let me do your hair and makeup. Let me pluck your eyebrows. It was just kind of my thing, and I just gravitated to it naturally. But this is pre-YouTube, pre-Instagram. There was none. Being a makeup artist was not a very well-known profession. It was very much behind the scenes. You never really heard about it. And so I never thought of it as a career. And I was very much an art student in high school. So I knew, and I was always very creative. So I knew whatever I wanted to do outside of high school, it had to be in a creative field. I thought at one point I wanted to be like a director. I wanted to be involved with cameras and film sets and, whatnot. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a director. And then I remember even my art teacher being like, well, there's not very many female directors out there. And I was like, I don't like that answer. I'm going to prove you wrong type of thing. So again, I was trying to figure out. And then a friend of the family taught makeup at George Brown College in Toronto. And she's like, I think you should come take it. Like, I can see you have a natural flair for it. Why don't you just come and try it out? So I was like, okay. And then so I took the course and did really well at it. And I was like, well, why can't this be my career? So then from there, at the time, there was no Sephora's in Canada. The only thing that was really makeup that was known was MAC Cosmetics. So I was like, well, I have to go get a job at MAC Cosmetics now. And so I started working as a Christmas contract for them in 2003. So I had just taken the course, started working at MAC. And then from there, I just found my people. Like, MAC was such a great training ground. I say to any starting makeup artist, they don't like to hear that now, but they'll be like, oh, where should I, how should I get to where you are? And I'm like, go work in retail. I was like, A, there's so many more options now, but B, it's such a great training ground because you never have control over who sits in your chair. You automatically have to learn how to work with every single skin tone, skin type, eye shape, everything. It just kind of forces you to figure it out, fake it till you make it type of mentality. And it just makes you that much stronger as an artist. I'd rather, someone kind of troubleshoot at a counter level than troubleshoot on a film set, right? Nobody wants to be a guinea pig when they're going to go on camera. So I did that for many years. I became a trainer with them. So I trained all the retail staff across Ontario. It was like a rock star job. I say it all the time. Like, I was living my best life in my 20s. To be a trainer within the company, they treated us like gold. They would fly us to like LA and throw us a party at the Playboy Mansion. And like, again, I was living my best life in my 20s. I was unstoppable. I was like, this is it. I've made it. And then in 2008 is when the recession hit. In 2009, I made too much money in the company and I was let go. And it was the worst thing to ever happen. Because again, it was my longest relationship I'd ever been with. I'd been with them for 7 years. I loved my job. I loved the people I work with. I loved everything about the company. And to be treated like that, I was like, oh my gosh, I was just disposed of and just like, bye-bye, figure it out on your own. I had zero contacts in the world of makeup and hair. I was like, what do I do? But just in kind of figuring out what I wanted to do next, I was like, I don't want to work for anyone ever again because, again, it just felt so horrible being disposed of. I was like, well, I'm just going to figure this out and I'm going to work for myself. And I'm happy to say that 15 and a half years later, I've never worked for anyone else. I've just did it myself. So I went off and did my freelance career. And again, I was so thirsty. The fire that was underneath me at that point, I always say if I could bottle that up and sell that, I would make millions because I had so much drive. I had so much hustle. Like, you name a job, I would take it. It was just me proving that I could do this and getting my name out there and making the connections and building this network. And I did it. And before I know it, I was, powdering down Adam Levine's nose and like hanging out in a limousine with him and like making sure he looked good for the Much Music Video Awards. Or same with Lady Gaga, making sure she looked great for her first ever show in Canada on stage. And like, I just have all these amazing stories of working with these celebrities. And it's just such a cool aspect of my career. It's not everything. And like, you learn when you work with people like this, they're just regular people. They just have these extraordinary lives, but it's something cool. And then when I got married and I had kids, that's when I started I Do Beauty Co. Because I was like, okay, I worked so hard to build this network. I don't want to lose it now. Mm-hmm. But obviously I can't be going out to these jobs anymore. So then that's when I hired on my team. And then I'm now able to send them out if I'm not available and keep my network. And it's been a great journey.
So do people spill their secrets to you? Because when you're in the salon chair, the relationship between,
it's so
your
true.
hairdresser
We
and-
always say, like, as makeup artists, we're, part-time makeup artists, but full-time therapists. There's an intimacy about it. I mean, within seconds of meeting people, I'm touching them, right? And I think that really breaks the ice, and immediately they just feel this, comfortableness with me, and they just kind of like let it all out. So I've seen it, I've heard it, I keep it. I think that's another thing too, is people are like, oh, you work with celebrities. Like, tell us your craziest story about celebrities, or tell us about your brides, all the bridezillas you have. And it's like, I have stories, I could repeat them, but at the same time, I like to work and I like people to hire me again and again and again. So there is a little bit of a sealed lip confidentiality, that like unspoken confidentiality. Let's say that is when someone sits in my chair. It's like, this is a safe zone. What you say here, it may or may not be repeated. If it's repeated, maybe I don't attach names to it. How's that?
That's right. Identity is protected at all costs.
Yes. Yeah.
I think you're in a really special profession because you make people, women, but I'm sure men and women, look beautiful. But I would think that you would also make them feel beautiful, because especially, I'm not talking about the celebrities who are used to that treatment, but let's say you are, whether it's a bride or maybe just somebody in the bridal party or going to a special event, that you bring out features in them that they didn't know they had, right? Because you obviously have the professional eye. So what is that like, to be able to change somebody's perspective about themselves and be like, wow, I'm cute today?
Yeah, it's definitely something that is very special, and it's immediate, right? Like, my husband, he's an aerospace engineer, so he works on big giant jets that take years and years of work to come to fruition. He always says, like, I'm so jealous of what you do, because you do it and right away you've done a good job, and you can see like the immediate response from the person. Like, they're standing taller, they look happier, they feel more confident about themselves. It is something very cool. And another thing too, that it's natural instinct for women to cut themselves down, right? So half the time when they're in my chair, they're like, oh, can you cover my bags? Or my lashes are, they're just straight. You can't even really do anything with them. Like, half the time I feel like I'm just building them up again, and basically saying, like, you see yourself through such a different lens than I do or anyone else does. I always say to everybody, it's like a magnifying mirror. We always seem to be looking at ourselves, so amplified, whereas nobody else sees itself like that. Even when like I hand someone a mirror after I've done their makeup, they hold it this close to their face. And I always say, no, hold it back. Because, the distance that you and I are, that's kind of where people see you. They don't see you right up close and can see every single pore and line and whatever. So it's important to also show them perspective.
I think everybody, at least once in their life, should hire a professional makeup artist to do their makeup. I think that should be like a once, even if it's a once in your lifetime treat. I just think that everybody should experience that at one time in their life.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Hire me.
Yes.
Hire me and I'll show you the ways.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to go back a little bit. Your career is going great. You're freelancing. You're doing hair, makeup, weddings, celebrities, and then COVID hits. And COVID is stay apart, 6 feet apart. Things were canceled. We were home alone and bored in the house board. Remember that?
I definitely second guessed my career choice. I'm like, oh, great. There's this potentially deadly, virus out there. And I touch people for a living. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And again, I'm a creative person, so I was really missing that creative outlet. So, and TikTok was all a buzz at that point. Or like, what's this new app that everybody's dancing on? And so I uploaded it. I think I was on it for maybe a week, and then there was all those like scare things out there about TikTok, like, oh, they're stealing your information, and like, don't go on it, and beware. And then so I was like, nope, delete. I took it off my phone. But then again, the pandemic was continuing. It was like, oh, this isn't just going to stay at home for 2 weeks type of thing. It's now been a month. So then I re-uploaded it because, again, bored, something to do. And then I just started making videos. And my video that went viral was everyone was wearing masks at that point, and they were complaining that the strings around their ears were like rubbing and becoming raw. So I was like, oh, well, I'm a hairstylist. Why don't you just create? So I created like Princess Leia buns on each side of my head. And I was like, loop your elastics around that, and then your ears won't be irritated. And it just went bonkers. I think I posted it and like I put my phone down, and then I picked it back up and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And it was like my first time experiencing like a viral moment, and like the followers were coming along, and I looked at it and I was like, what is happening? And then that's where I was like, oh, well, this could again be a blessing. Like you have to look for those moments of like, oh, this is another blessing. Like they're giving me this opportunity. And then so I just started making content videos, everything about hair, makeup, skincare, beauty related. And then it just, took off from there. And it's funny because I felt like on TikTok, I was anonymous, right? Like none of my friends or family followed me on there. So I would do all the goofy things. There's things that I look back on that I was doing during the pandemic that are just so cringy. But I'm like, it was a survival tactic at the time. It was like, do what you can to survive and like entertain yourself. And then it took I think it took probably like a year and a half, 2 years before I was like, okay, maybe I'm ready to start filtering some of what I do over in TikTok land to Instagram land. Cause I felt like Instagram, and still to this day, I feel like Instagram, there's more that connection of like, these are people that I actually know and converse with, and friends and family. Whereas TikTok is still like, I have lots of followers over there, but I feel like they're ghost followers. Like I don't actually know who they are. So then I started filtering it over to Instagram, and then it was well received. So
did you have a plan, or were you just like, I'm going to pick up my phone and I'm just going to have fun?
I had zero plans. I don't think anyone did at that time, right? Because it was new. It was uncharted waters, and look at this fun new app where again, you just, it's for the kids and they dance on it. Mm-hmm. But it was evolving at that point, especially because of the pandemic and everyone was home. So I just kind of made it my own and found, that's my niche already. So I felt comfortable in that space, and then just started creating content.
Amazing. Now you have over 400,000 followers on TikTok.
I do.
And over 50,000 on Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
You're obviously doing something right.
Yeah.
But you know what I love about that story, Janine?
What's that?
Is that it shows how resilient women are and how we can redefine ourselves at any age.
So true.
We all thought the sky was falling in 2020, right? Mm-hmm. Everything was closing. We're like, oh, my career's dead. But you found a way to not only rejuvenate it and revive it, but to start a whole new element of it. Mm-hmm. So what would you tell women, especially at midlife, who are looking to shake it up midlife and maybe want to redefine themselves?
It's scary. It's definitely scary, but go for it. Again, like listen to your intuition. And if you think you have an idea, you're never going to know if it's going to stick if you don't try it. And you got to just throw ego and all that aside. Like, some people are like, I had a friend, or I'll say loosely a friend. And he was like, don't you feel kind of silly doing what you do? And I was like, no, I don't. It supports my family. This is part of my job and I'm having fun doing it. I'm like, don't you want to have fun sometimes? Yeah. And that's how I answered him, because he made it seem like, and there is a silliness aspect to it, but again, you just got to throw your ego aside. It's like, we have to live a level. Like if we were all just serious, I mean, the world is kind of doom and gloom right now, right?
Yeah,
There's not a lot of happiness and joy in it. So I'm doing something that brings me joy. And if you think I'm silly, at least I made you laugh. Right?
Yeah. That's what I think is really special about this time of life too, is that there has to be I don't care element.
Oh, 1,000%.
I feel as we get older, and maybe you agree with this, that your priorities change and you don't care as much about what other people think of you. Like you mentioned the person saying, don't you feel silly? Like who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
I'm having fun. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
And if I make one or two people like it and laugh, like I've done my job for the day.
And there's a real freedom to that.
There is. A
huge freedom. Why do you think it's important for a woman to shake it up? Like, why is it important to keep evolving and growing and not get stuck in the same old, especially at this phase of life when we have so many other aspects of our life changing? Like our kids are moving away. Yeah. We're hitting middle age. Our bodies are changing. Our hormones are changing. So, and cases, our relationships are changing. So why is it important as women for our own selves to keep mixing it up and redefining ourselves?
Because I think we're at our best.
Yes.
Right? We're
Yeah.
at our best. We have so much knowledge, information, experts in whatever niche we're in or whatever industry we're in. We have years and years of experience under our belt that's power to me. That's power that should be shared, that should be celebrated. It shouldn't be, they talk about women becoming invisible as they get older. No, this is your time to like rattle those pans and be like, no, listen to me. Like I have so much information, knowledge that should be shared with the world.
You're absolutely right. This is the time for cowbells.
Yes, cowbells. Ring them.
All the cowbells.
Ding-a-ling.
Speaking of knowledge, I need your help.
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about midlife and makeup. Mm-hmm. How does our skin change as we grow older? And how does that reflect the makeup that we should be wearing or applying?
There's a lot of changes that happen. One spot particularly is around the eyes. That's kind of where women start to see the aging. And so things like doing a really graphic wing liner don't work anymore. Like even myself, like I love a wing liner and I find I have to like pull my eye in certain directions now to like get that smooth line. Someone equates it to like, as you get older, trying to put liquid, it's like trying to put liquid liner on a testicle. On a set of balls. And like, so whenever I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, there's my, there's old lefty. There's my scrotum eye again. It's, things just change. And I think makeup is whatever you feel confident wearing, right? And so I like to say there's no rules for women as they mature, but kind of umbrella rule is less sometimes is best. I find that the more you kind of put on, because you're like, oh, this is going to make me look younger, it can actually age you a little bit because you're now dealing with the fine lines and the under eyes and the loose skin and all that stuff. But again, it's about confidence. Like if you want to rock a crazy smoky eye, do it. If you want to wear the red lip, wear it. But it's about confidence. You need to like put that on and be like, this is what I'm wearing. And I'm not going to walk in and look sheepish and be like, oh, everyone's looking at my red lip. There has to be a confidence that matches it.
Yeah, it's definitely. Is there mistakes we're making? So you know how we get into a makeup routine or rut where we just like the same old year after year. This is how I do my blush. This is how I do my cover up, whatever. Are there mistakes that we are making now that could be aging us? Like, for instance, if I get my makeup done and the makeup artist doesn't take into appreciation my age or consideration my age, okay, they might cake a lot of like the concealer or foundation underneath your eye. And for me, I feel it just sort of brings out the fine lines and the wrinkles, and it does the opposite effect of what I want. Mm-hmm. So for those at home, is there tricks that we could do that maybe we should switch up a bit that, might have worked when we were in our 30s, but maybe not so much anymore?
I think this is also going back to that whole, like, we didn't grow up with Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff. No one really taught us how to do makeup when we were younger. And so what we learned, when we did start wearing makeup, whether teenager, 20s, whatever, we just kind of stick with that throughout all the years and think that that's going to work with us. But you do have to alter it as you get older because certain things don't work anymore. Putting that concealer under your eye when it was a smooth surface worked for you at one point, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, this looks very textured and this is drawing attention to things that I don't want it to. So it's just finding ways to tweak it and make it work for you in the moment that you're in.
Mm-hmm. Is there something that midlife women should stop being scared of when it comes to doing their makeup? I'll tell you what I'm scared of.
Yeah. Tell me what you're scared of.
You can teach me because I've never, and don't judge me.
No,
but
safe space.
I have never applied eyeliner because it scares the crap out of me.
Okay.
Like you have to stick it in your waterline and like, what if you jab your eye out? Stuff like that. So that is scary to me. So should I just embrace it? And how do I learn how to do that for somebody who's 48 years old and have never applied eyeliner?
Just try it. I say this even when clients are in my chair, right off the bat, I'm like, it's just makeup. It can wash off. You don't like something? I can change it. That's the great thing with makeup. It's literally just paint. And if you don't like it, you can change it. So why not sit there one day, take a black liner in your waterline and see how it looks for you. Try it out on yourself and see if it works. Because you never, it's just like before. You never know unless you try, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Expert advice. What's your tip? Because I feel like I'm looking a little like Basset Houndish because
Okay.
my eyelids are starting to like get droopy. So is there a makeup tip that I could use that will just bring out my eyes, without the surgery?
Anything lighter and brighter.
Yeah.
Just think of it, not necessarily like a full on sparkle, but something that has a little bit of light reflection will kind of bounce off and you won't be able to see those like fine lines and wrinkles as much. And always think upwards. Never, I don't want to say never, because again, I like to say there's no rules, but as soon as you put anything underneath your eyes, whether it's liner, mascara, it immediately draws attention downwards. So obviously as we age, everything starts to drop down. But if you apply everything kind of upwards, so from your eyelids upwards, you're going to draw everything up. But then if you put anything underneath, it's going to draw it down.
Oh, so I shouldn't be doing the lower lash mascara?
I mean, again, it's your comfort level.
Yeah.
But I know myself, I loved bottom mascara.
Yeah.
Especially when I was a teenager. I remember caking it on and then I would take a safety pin and I would separate each of the lashes because I just loved the look of bottom mascara. And I remember, and I wore it all the way up until probably my 30s. And I even remember when I was working at the MAC counter, there was a fellow that worked there and the mature women loved him. They would all flock to him. And, I think it was just like, being in the presence of a gay man who would tell you you're beautiful. Yeah. And, like I always say, like gay men have it made in this industry way more than any, women would, because there's something about a gay man saying, oh my God, honey, you're beautiful and this and that and whatever. And like the women just eat it up. Anyway, so this one particular artist, all the mature women would go to him and I overheard him one day and he's like, yeah, don't do mascara on the lower lashes. And I was like, oh, how dare he tell them that? Like, that's just, no, that is not a rule that lives in my life. And then lo and behold, here I am. I rarely wear bottom mascara now. So that guy is always in the back of my head, like, oh yeah, there does come a time where you're like, oh yeah, bottom mascara doesn't work for me anymore.
Yeah.
No.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I like your bottom mascara,
Do
by
you?
the way. Yeah. I feel like you do it tastefully. It's not super noticeable.
It's not caked.
It works for you.
All right. I'll keep it around for a little bit, I guess.
Keep it around.
So for somebody who has been in the beauty industry for over 20 years, what is the biggest change that you've noticed within the beauty industry?
Oh my gosh, there's been so much. One of the first ones is foundation formulas. Formulations have really come a long way. And I think it's because of HD quality that is now out there, because it used to be working in a studio, the lights would blast you out. Like news anchors would wear crazy thick, heavy orange makeup that in person looked crazy, but then on camera it worked with the definition of the cameras and the lights. But then all of a sudden, when everything went HD in like mid 2000s, everyone freaked out because what they had used for years was no longer working. And I was working with MAC at the time. And I remember all the networks like City TV and CTV, Chorus, like all of them were coming to us being like, teach us. Like, we don't know how to do makeup anymore because it looks horrible on camera. So we were teaching them airbrush because airbrush was like a very light touch. And so we were teaching this new method, and airbrush became really popular remember when Halle Berry won the Oscar and she was crying and her makeup did not move anywhere? She was airbrushed. So then that was when airbrush became very popular. And then slowly after that, makeup brands were like, hey, wait a minute, we need to start making our formulas to match what needs to be out there for television and film and all that stuff. And so the formulations of foundations, I think, have really come a long way. So it's now at the point where airbrush is no longer kind of a trend, but people still inquire about it. So brides will be like, oh, you offer airbrush. Is that something you'd recommend? And even though it's an upsell for my team, it is more money. I still say, you know what? The formulations have come such a long way. I'd rather manually apply your foundation than through an airbrush because you just have so much more control and the formulas are so much nicer.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect. Another aspect is just there is so much out there now. again, when I started, MAC Cosmetics was like the only makeup brand, you know, that was really well known outside of drugstore. And then now with like the Sephoras and just the amount of brands, celebrity brands are really big and trendy right now. Those are the number one producers right now. So if you go into Sephora, you see the Makeup by Mario's, you see the Charlotte Tilbury, you see the Rare Beauty by Selena Gomez. So that's the trend right now. But also because of that, it's like the industry is a little bit oversaturated. Like it's almost intimidating now. It's like, where do you buy your products from? Like even as a professional, like I'm even intimidated by it all. It used to be the trend was if you liked a brand, someone's makeup bag was entirely that brand. So if you open someone's makeup bag, it would all be MAC or it'd all be Estee Lauder or Clinique or whatever. And now it's you have, oh, this eyeliner from Bobbi Brown is the best. And then this brush from Makeup Forever. And then this lip gloss from Fenty Beauty. It's just opened up, you know, craziness in terms of like product availability and brands. I feel like there's a new brand coming through, a new celebrity brand, like, oh, they want to jump on the bandwagon and get a piece of the pie. And it's just very saturated now.
And is there a particular look that you see that is going to be trendy for 2025?
So the one that I read recently that I was like, okay, is apparently concealer, particularly under the eyes, is no longer trending. But I'm here for that because I on myself, I do concealer on other people for sure, but on myself, I've never been a concealer wearer because it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, you're covering maybe some darkness, but then you're still adding texture, you're adding product. And there's movement there. It's the thinnest part of skin on the body, right? So there's movement there, and as soon as you put product on it, you're adding texture. So I'm here for this movement. You don't necessarily need it, but then there are some circumstances where people are like, you know what, I'm so dark, I'd rather brighten up the darkness in exchange for the texture.
Mm-hmm. And what about the whole trend of the no makeup?
That one
sticking around.
That one drives me nuts because even in terms of pricing, you know, clients will come and be like, oh, it's really a nothing makeup. It's like a no makeup. But there's a lot of work that goes into a no makeup look. There is actually a lot to it. It's not just, you know, slapping something on and being like, oh, it doesn't look like they have makeup. And that's what also drove me nuts. Remember when celebrities, I feel like there was some celebrities that were like, oh, I don't wear makeup anymore. But then they do a shoot. But to my trained eye, I'm like, they're wearing makeup. There's actually quite a lot on there. But to anyone else, they'd be like, oh yeah, they're not wearing makeup.
Are we like Pam Anderson? Is that what you're talking about?
Pamela Anderson, I think she actually doesn't wear makeup. She's like one of the ones, but I know Alicia Keys did it. Jessica Simpson did it. And like, they're doing these cover shoots and I'm like, no. There's makeup on there. Whereas I think Pamela Anderson is like true to not wearing anything.
Yeah.
She looks great.
Yeah, she does.
I'm like, I applaud her. I love her reasoning behind it, right? Like for years, she's like, I played a character. I was known as this like bombshell. And she's like, I'm peeling that. I had to find myself again. And she's like, and this is the way that I'm doing it. I'm like, I love it. I'm all for it. And she's not doing it in a way. I don't like when people, you know, like, oh, I never wear makeup, you know, like makeup is a bad thing. I never want makeup or someone's choice of how they choose to present themselves to the world to be shamed for that. And that's what I like about what Pamela Anderson, she's not shaming anyone, not being like, well, you shouldn't wear makeup either. She's like, I'm choosing to not wear makeup I'm finding my authentic self. But she's not dogging on anyone who chooses to do that. So I like that positioning.
So for someone who's been in the industry for over 20 years, I'm curious to know if your definition of beauty has changed and evolved throughout the years.
Absolutely, it has. I think it's changed in a sense that, like, I grew up where, you know, you had to look a certain way. You know, there was that standard that was out there. Even just like the overall aesthetic of a woman, you had to be, you know, the size of Kate Moss. You had to have, you know, I'm saying this and I'm blonde hair, blue eyes, but you know what I mean? Like there was an aesthetic that was out when I was young and a teenager that was the ideal perfection. And you know, it's stuck with me. It's ingrained in me and I hate that it's there. I wish I could click the unsubscribe button to that. but it's something that I grew up with. And then I now see this, this younger generation where like all body shapes and looks are embraced and they're so confident in who they are and walking around the world. And I'm like envious of that. And so if anything, I think there's beauty in everyone. Like, I think that's what I've come to with what I do is, when someone sits in my chair, like I can pick out 5 things on their face that I love, as a makeup artist, and I'll tell them, I'm like, oh, I really love, and it can be weird things too. Like makeup artists will be like, oh, you have amazing eyelid space. And it's like, the reaction's always like, oh, thank you. I never have been told that before. And I'm like, no, this is great. I have such such a canvas to work with. So things like that, like I think everybody has beauty within them, and it may not be necessarily what you would think about yourself, but I think everyone's beautiful.
We did grow up in that culture, the skinny culture. You remember that Special K commercial?
Which one?
Can't pinch an inch.
Oh, geez.
Or you can pinch an inch. Yeah. And that's why you need Special K. I can't remember.
Like I said, like it lives inside of us like a little troll that we cannot kill. And I'm like, I want to kill this little troll that's within me because it doesn't help us in life, right? Especially in this stage of life where things are changing. And I don't, I said to my girlfriends, there's 2 girlfriends that I've had since public school. And when we turned 40, I was like, this is the decade, ladies. This is the decade when we're really going to age. We're really going to see it. We're not going to be able to pass as the 20-year-olds anymore. And it's happened. We're now halfway through. I'm turning 45 this weekend. And I'm like, oh man, like we're not there anymore.
That's okay.
I know, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that we're not there anymore, but it's hard to let go of that idea of what the ideal perfection was that was being sold to us at the time.
I know. I think the only way we can kill the troll is through our kids. So you have a daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you talk to her about beauty and beauty standards and growing up and being different and embracing that?
Yeah. So we never talk about bodies in our house, ever. Like, sometimes I have to like nip my mother-in-law, love her, but she's from that generation where you say all the time, oh, you're looking you've been really enjoying those muffins I sent you, and it's like, no, we do not talk like that. So we never talk about bodies. We do a mantra every night, and we say, we get her to say, I'm smart, I'm strong, I am beautiful, I am kind, I can do anything. And that's what we say every single night. I want to, and she's so confident. I love her confidence. She's a Leo. She's very, showy. And even recently with the Taylor Swift concerts that came through, I did a partnership with a clothing brand. So I was like, I got all the outfits for all the eras, and she was trying them on. She's like, Mommy, I love the way I look. And I was like, oh my gosh, this little 8-year-old, like saying that I was like, can I have a little bit of that confidence, please? I was like blown away. I was like, okay, I'm doing something right. Like she just, I love seeing it. And I just, anything to power her up. I also try not to focus so much on her outward appearance too, right? Like you can't just say, oh, you're so beautiful all the time, right? Like it's also about talking about her mind, and I love the way she thinks. And I really am very cautious of raising a daughter versus raising a son. My son he's very intelligent. He's blonde hair, blue eyes. He's going to be tall. He's going to be handsome. I was like, you're fine in life, like, whereas my daughter, I'm like, I really like make sure, like I want her to, be amazing at life.
Mm-hmm. And I think when you're talking about the mantras that you do, that's all about building up your self-concept, which circles back to the beginning of this interview with manifestation.
Yeah.
You're passing down your powers. That's what you're doing.
I am. My witchy powers. I say all the time to Harlow's. One time she was reading a book or something like that, and they were all about witches. And she's like, Mommy, I think I'm a witch. And I was like, welcome to the coven. I was like, yes, I'm doing something right.
I love it. I love it. What's next for you? Where do you want to be next for you? What are you manifesting next for you?
Oh, so many things. I feel like 2024 just needs to go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I feel like everybody it was a rough year. And like, I feel like every year when it gets to the end of the year, everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so over this year. I'm ready for it to be over. Do you not find that? But I feel like 2024, there's something about this year that has been very difficult for many people, myself included. So I just want 2025 2025 to be, you know what it is? I want to find my mojo again. I want to find that fire. I want to find that hustle that was underneath me, 15 years ago when I had lost my job. I think I just need to reignite that and just focus on myself. I want to like really give social media and content creation like a full honest try. Like I feel like, during the pandemic, I was able to do it because I had all the time in the world. But then once I started working, it was a balance. Like it was one that I haven't been able to quite fine tune yet. So if anything, I want to like give it an honest try and be like, okay, treat social media like business, schedule the time, do the content, put it out there and see what sticks, because that is the future, right? Like that's where everything is going, is online. So I want to give that an honest try. I do have dreams to have my own skincare line, which I always start and then I kind of have to back burner it. I did it again this year. Maybe this will be the year. Maybe 2025 will be the year that I'm like, all right, I just got to do it. And that's what I keep saying to myself. It's like having kids, right? When people are like, oh, I'm going to wait to have kids once, I have, the certain salary, or once I buy a house or whatever. There's always going to be an excuse, right? There's always going to be something in the way. You just have to do it. You just have to have kids. I just need to make this skincare line.
You just got to jump.
You just got to jump.
Jump. What kind of skincare line do you want to make?
So it's a skincare line, but the main thing is a tool. It's a tool for icing your face. That's how much I'll say.
Ooh,
but I'm a firm believer. Like I have to get up and do early morning TV.
Yeah.
And, I don't wake up cute anymore. That's what I say to my husband all the time. I was like, I don't wake up cute anymore. I look in the mirror. I'm like, who is that person staring back at me? There's puffiness. There's swelling. There's whatever. And I've tried it all. I've tried all the creams. I've tried all the, rollers, tools, whatever. I find the best thing that takes down swelling, particularly under the eyes, is just grabbing a good old ice cube and putting it under the eyes, and it restricts it right away. So it's a tool that holds the ice cube and makes it more,
Amazing.
ergonomically better for icing. It's like an experience.
Well, if it makes you feel better, the other day I was walking the dog down the street in the morning in my pajamas with my eye patch things on.
Yeah,
don't care.
No shame. Yeah. Again, it's like that's a beautiful thing about being this age. We don't care.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. But that's the one time that you do run into an ex or something, and you're like, oh gosh, out of all the times. I did that once for live TV.
Did you?
I did it once on breakfast television. It was Halloween.
Yeah.
And I was doing their Halloween makeup, so I wasn't going to be on camera. And I said to them, I was like, I'm not going to be on camera. They're like, nope, you won't be on camera. I was like, okay, great. I literally rolled in my pajamas, not a stitch of makeup. My hair was in a disgusting bun. I'm doing the makeup. In comes the live camera.
No, they didn't.
I was like, and then of course, so many people reached out. Hey, Janine, saw you on TV. And I was like, out of all the times when, I put in the effort and I look fantastic, no one sees me. And then the one time that I look like the troll, they all see me. So I learned my lesson. No matter what my call time, no matter what I'm doing, I will always put an effort into making myself look presentable.
Well, you're always beautiful.
Thank you. But then that's because I learned my lesson.
Well, thank you for coming on Midlife Mix, Janine. It's been so great to chat with you and catch up with you. And I'm going to keep my eye out for that skincare line.
Keep out for it. Thank you so much.
Going to manifest it for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Manifest my witchy powers.